Hello and welcome to the Q&A for Voicing the Goddess, healing mantra practices to awaken grace, joy, and personal power. I'm Carrie Hernandez with the Shift Network, and it is my pleasure to be your host as we explore the teachings of Dr. Shamini Jain and address questions about her upcoming course, which begins Thursday, September 3rd at 1 p.m. Pacific. And if you're unable to join us live, you can still participate in this course, and I'm going to explain more about that later. But first, I want to introduce my guest. Dr. Shamini Jain, a member of the Evolutionary Leader Circle, is a psychologist, scientist, and social entrepreneur, and the founder and CEO of the Consciousness and Healing Initiative, a collaborative accelerator that connects scientists, health practitioners, educators, and artists to help lead humanity to heal ourselves. Shamini integrates her background in clinical psychology, Jain's spiritual wisdom, and the healing arts to teach people how they can best heal themselves and live life with joy and spiritual alignment. She teaches nationally, and her research has been featured in Time Magazine, U.S. News and World Report, CNN, and other news media. Please join me in welcoming Shamini, who is going to lead us in an opening practice. Welcome, Shamini. It's so great to have you with us.
Thank you, Carrie. Thanks so much. Let's begin actually with calling in Saraswati Ma. Saraswati is the goddess of wisdom. She is the goddess of teaching. She's the goddess of learning. She's the goddess of arts and music and science, even. So we'll just begin by calling her in so that she can be with us. That way we know that we're receiving the depths of the wisdom as we begin to talk. So just take a nice breath. You don't have to force anything. Relax in your body. If your feet are on the ground, that's great. And let's just listen to the sound. Om Vagdevi cha vidmahi Brahma Patni cha dhimahi Thanno Vani Prachodayat Svaha Om Vagdevi cha vidmahi Brahma Patni cha dhimahi Thanno Vani Prachodayat Svaha Om Vagdevi cha vidmahi Brahma Patni cha dhimahi Thanno Vani Prachodayat Svaha. May Saraswati bless us and guide us on our hour together.
Oh, thank you so much, Shamini. That was beautiful. I feel present and grounded. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we do have so many questions for you, and we're going to start with some of those that have come through our web site. And I want to thank all those who have been sending their questions in. And we're going to spend the rest of our time exploring these questions for Shamini's video course, Voicing the Goddess, which begins Thursday, September 3rd at 1 p.m. Pacific. And you can visit our website, which is goddessmantrascourse.com to learn more about the 7-module course, and you'll find a link to register. All right, we're going to start right at the top with our first question. It's asking, will we be having any sort of homework or practice sessions? I'm wondering how much time we'll need to be practicing our voice exercises and sounding.
Great question. So there will be home practice, but it's really up to you how much time you want to invest in the practice. So I will ask you to explore sound in your body throughout the course. And that is pretty crucial because I'll be sharing a lot of information. So a lot of it, yes, you'll receive cognitively, you'll receive it when you are watching the videos. But if you want to get the most out of the course, then you'll have to commit to exploring somewhat the sound in your body. This can literally be 5 minutes a day or it can be an hour a day. It's really your choice. So when you enter the course, just be prepared because you're going to be exploring the nature of sound in your body first and foremost, really feeling how the vibrations feel in your body, even when you're speaking. So a lot of that is just paying attention. It's not necessarily extra work. I will be sharing mantras with you, of course, throughout the course as well. And while it'll be wonderful to listen, this is also about activating your sound with your biofield. So you might choose to just, if you don't have a lot of time, but you can devote like maybe 10 minutes a day to just practicing the beach mantras, the seed mantras that I'm going to be sharing, you'll see a benefit. If you've got an hour a day and you're one that wants to do a mala, and we can talk about what malas are if people don't know, it's basically like a rosary, it's 108 beads. You can practice one of those a day if you want, if you've got some time. But it's really up to you how much you invest in that. And there will be some reflection questions too, which don't take long to answer. It's not a lot of journaling, it's not a lot of homework, but just ways for you to explore how does the goddess show up in your life? Where do you notice her? Where do you notice the elements of fire and air and water and earth and space showing up in your life and with what you hear?
Thank you for that clarity. Our next question asks, when saying or singing a mantra, does it have to be in tune? And thank you so much for this opportunity to ask.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for the question. No, the tune is really you. So you are the tune. You get to decide. It's not about hitting a particular note, it's not about high or low. It's just about feeling the vibration in your body. It's really all about that. So we're not going to learn necessarily songs or kirtans or bhajans here. We're just going to be working with the nature of the sound vibration itself, feeling it in our body and then feeling the effects. So, for example, the chant that I did, I'll share those with you. And if you feel inclined to do it, you can. But a lot of what I'm going to share with you is just simple mantras like Om, for example. Pretty much all of us know Om, right? There are other ones. They're just one syllable. So there's no need to be feeling like you need to carry a tune or perform in any way.
Great to know. Thank you. We have several questions around the goddesses. And our first question is asking, are the goddesses real? And maybe to put it another way, are the goddesses actual people with personalities or identities, or are they something more abstract and less personal than that?
It's a great question, and it depends on who you ask. Okay, so I will share with you my perspective on this. The divine feminine is everywhere. And without going too deep into this, we'll get into this a lot more in depth in the class. Consider the point of view that everything is consciousness. And the divine feminine is basically that which brings consciousness into form. The divine feminine, in tantric traditions, for example, can be considered the word itself. Sound itself is the divine feminine. So, in many cultures, in ancient cultures, the divine feminine was realized as basically it's Shakti, right? It's energy, and it's energy as it's manifested in all of these forms. So, if you talk to many Vedic scholars and practitioners, for example, they will say that's a vibration. Okay, it's a vibration. And so that vibration can be translated and is experienced through sound, mantra. It can be parlayed, if you will, reflected in geometric form, like yantras. Okay, so those are geometric forms. And then, though, at some point, it's very interesting that so many cultures have taken those aspects of divine vibration and personified them into goddesses. Okay. Because as people, we tend to sort of relate to that personification much more. Now, having said that, there are many people in the Tantric tradition and Bhakti Yoga tradition that actually, yes, pray to these deities. Do we know whether they exist or not? It's really, it's sort of a question for you to answer. It's going to be based on your experience. What I can share with you is that when you practice mantras as a gateway of connecting with the divine feminine and those vibrations and bringing them into you, you may experience different things. You may see the geometric forms. You may see an image of the goddess that comes to you. And what I would suggest to you, and this is really based on my personal experiences, just suspend any doubt and judgment or worry about whether they're real or not. Just experience the vibration and notice how that vibration transforms you. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. Amy is asking and sharing that she's interested in learning more about the mantras and the feminine energy. And she's asking if there will be teaching on how to apply that to her actual life, how to take those teachings into her life as lessons.
Absolutely. So, and really at the get-go, even when we talk about the seed mantras in the beginning of the course, we're going to be relating those to the forces of nature. That's how we've understood them, actually, these seed mantras. So they relate to fire, air, water, whatever. And I'll be sharing with you, how do you apply that to your life? For example, if you're in a fiery place in life, you've got too much fire, maybe you have inflammation, you have, different things that could be happening. You just have too much going on. There are certain mantras that you might gravitate to balance that out. And when we go over the different goddesses, you will explore the qualities that are related to those goddesses, the gifts that they're bringing you. And when you learn about the gifts that they're bringing you, then you'll learn how to, how does this apply to my life? What is it that I could use more balance with? What could I use a boost with? Do I need to connect in more with my sense of abundance? Do I need help kind of getting a project done? Do I need help in sort of my physical strength or clearing away obstacles? So as you learn through the course, you'll learn about these different goddesses and sort of the blessings that they bring. And you'll learn specific mantras to align with those energies so that you can harmonize your life.
Hmm. Beautiful. Thank you. And we have curiosity from one of your previous answers asking if you could please talk more about the use of a mala and how that works.
Absolutely. So a mala is sometimes known as a rosary, very similar thing in the Christian and other traditions, right? It's basically like it's almost looks like a necklace of 108 beads. And 108 is a very magical, esoteric number. We can get into that later in the course if you want. There's a reason for the 108. When you use a mala or a rosary, you're basically in the mala tradition. Let's just talk about that. You're going to hold it so that when you say a mantra, even if it's a one word mantra, you hold it and then you move to the next beat and you say it again. And this can be done silently or it can be done, out loud. And we'll explore when you might want to do it out loud and when you might want to do it silently. There are 4 levels of sound that we'll get into from the Vedic and Tantric traditions. But with the mala, you're basically holding it. So it's fun because especially if you're new to this, it's a great way to kind of keep the mind focused on the mantra. You're kind of constantly reminding yourself, okay, mantra, mantra, mantra. So it helps a little bit with mind wandering and focus. And it's just a beautiful spiritual tool. You don't have to have one though. People actually use their hands and they count this way. They you can actually do that up to 108 times. I'll be honest, I haven't tried it. I personally do the mala, but you can't. You can count 108 times using your hand and just being clever about how you count here. So anyway, you don't need a mala for this course. If you've got one, great. There are also ones that are just like 9 beads that go on the wrist, and you can do those, and then you do those 9 times. So it's just a tool for, exploration.
Thank you for that. I'm imagining now the hand and I'm sitting here calculating. That's
Right?
what,
It's like, how does this work? You can do it though. Lots of
yeah.
people do.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Let's see. We have another question on goddesses asking, is it better for one to connect with goddesses from their own cultural backgrounds, or can anyone connect with a goddess from any culture?
Personally, I think that you can connect with any goddess from any culture, but what you will likely find is that when you connect with a goddess, say from a particular culture, that's not yours, what might end up happening is that the vision of the goddess or the experience of the goddess may come to you from the culture, traditions, and religious experiences that you've already had. And that's totally fine. I mean, I think that's beautiful. One of the things that is so fun to explore is how many of these goddesses, and I know some people like to call them archetypes, they show up, right, in different cultures. So there's a connection, for example, between Lakshmi Ma, the goddess of abundance in the Vedic traditions, and Oshun from the Yoruba traditions. They're both water goddesses. They both signify abundance and fertility and all these things. You will probably notice connections potentially with Mother Mary in certain aspects of the divine feminine, and you may experience her. So Mother Mary might come in while we do these Vedic and Tantric goddesses, others may come in, the ones that are resonant with your culture. That's totally okay. These are just different avenues of experiencing the divine.
Mm. Thank you. There's a kind of a question linked to that, what you were just saying. And one share is, I grew up in a Christian family. And while I've been exploring the sort of practices you're teaching, sometimes I get a sense of guilt or anxiety about using goddesses' names and mantras. Can you talk about this a little more?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for naming that. Thank you for the brave person who raised that question, because I think there's always some concern if you're, very aligned with a religious practice, that you want to make sure that whatever you're doing isn't in alignment with your practice, right? Or your religion. What I will say is that the mantras that I'm sharing with you are in no way anti any other religion. They don't take the place of your religion of choice. They are not meant to, these are not like conversion teachings or anything like that. So there's nothing to say that you have to ascribe to it. When you go through the course, you'll learn how these personifications, these goddesses, are linked to particular energies that are in the world. And so for you, you may really want to just focus in on the sound and the nature of the vibrations in your body. And if the depictions of the goddesses or whatever just don't feel like they're in resonance, don't worry about that, because you're still feeling the vibrations. The vibrations are meant to basically clear away patterning that's in you that keeps you from knowing your full soul's light. Okay, so in that way, when you practice the mantras and you practice these sounds, you're essentially just vibrating out things that you don't need and opening the light of your soul, or God, as you may describe it, right? To be more fully in you, to be more fully present with you. So in that way, it's not in conflict at all with Christianity or any other religious tradition from my point of view. And I'm a Jain, so I'll just speak to that really briefly. Jains believe that all roads lead to the same place. We believe in something that we call anekantavad, which means non-absolutism, or truth in many perspectives. All roads that lead to the divine are divine.
That's so beautiful. I just okay, we can stop there. That's beautiful. That's lovely. Thank you for holding space for that question beautifully. Let's see. Our next question is coming from Arma, asking, what are your thoughts in the cross-cultural concept of spiritual intuition?
Can you repeat the question? So,
Yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts in the cross-cultural concept of spiritual intuition?
well, I'm not sure if I understand the question. So, cross-cultural concept of spiritual intuition. So, the question is around cross-cultural concepts of spiritual intuition. So, if by this you mean, whether you do centering prayer or whether you do mantra or whether you do meditation or some other practice, and you get guidance. Absolutely, that happens in every culture. It is cross-cultural, absolutely. And intuition, from the Vedic traditions, and I think many traditions, comes from the heart, right? So if we think about that a little bit, then again, related to what I was just saying before, if we're clearing away conditioning and things that we don't need so that we're better able to connect in with the soul's light, we automatically receive guidance then. We automatically receive intuition, because, we're just following the path of connecting back in with our soul's light. And so that is, of course, cross-cultural. Absolutely.
Thank you. Let's see. Our next question is relevant to our current times, asking, in this time of COVID and extreme social unrest, I've been feeling really isolated and separated from others. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little about isolation and separation, and if there are any practices you recommend to help me when I'm really feeling this way.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that. And I'll bet that many of us watching and talking know exactly how you're feeling. I think that this has been a really trying time for everyone I know, including myself. Everyone has, and that sense of disconnection is real. You know, it's funny because just as an aside, I just finished the afterword for a book that I've just finished writing for Sounds True, which will be out next year. And I was talking about this. The book is on the biofield, you know, which is kind of a lot of what I'm known for in terms of the research and work that I've done in biofield healing. And the mantras are that too, right? They tap into the biofield. So whenever you're feeling disconnected or alone, remember the power of the biofield, because what the biofield is teaching us, what is a biofield for those of you who've never heard the term? Fields of energy and information, right? That guide our health and guide our healing process. What we learn from these studies, for example, with healers, is that our love reaches everywhere. It has no bounds. So that's why distant healing can work. We have data for that. That's why a healer can shrink tumors in a mouse model of cancer all the way to cell signaling in the tumor, because love can reach that far. And so when you're feeling like that, I mean, I'll just share. This isn't a plug for the course. I'll just share my own personal experience. Mantra practice really helps us open up to that wider experience of connection. And there is something about connecting with the divine energies and the divine feminine, you know, in this case and in my case, because that's what I practice. It just makes you realize that you're never actually alone. First of all, you always have spirit is always with you, spirit is always guiding you, spirit is always there, but usually we're just too busy or we're not really paying attention. And so we don't often feel their presence. But when you do tap into that presence is love. And it's so nurturing and it's so healing. And the experience of it, because you're kind of like, wow, you know, what just happened? Like, wow, that's amazing. Then you realize that you might be able to call a friend, you know, who's 3,000 miles away, and you can really feel that person. So even when you're separated across distance, doing biofield practices, and mantra is one of them, right? Helps us realize, you know, that I don't end here. I don't end at my skin. You know, I actually connect out all the way to the universe, and I am connected. I am supported by spirit, even when I may not always feel their presence. So you asked specifically, you know, what can I do? I would say commit to some type of biofield or spiritual practice, because I think you'll notice a shift in the way that you experience connection when you do that.
So I'm curious, in your course, when you're teaching the mantras, will you specifically be connecting those in relation so we'll learn more about the biofield? Or,
Yes. So we'll just clarify the biofield is just part and parcel of this course, because mantras work in the biofield. So, yeah, there's a physical resonance, right? And we'll talk about the different levels of sound and how they vibrate in the biofield in the different bodies, right? When we connect our sound with the biofield, we're starting to feel this resonance that is not only inside the body, but through our entire field, inside and out, right? So we're radiating outward. We're actually clearing our energy body, we're clearing our biofield, and we're opening our biofield so that divine presence can be with us. So it's very much, you know, the scientist in me would say, you know, the biofield is mediating the effects of the mantra and the divine, whatever. The biofield is connecting the spiritual with the physical, right? And the emotional. So absolutely, we work with the biofield. And as we explore mantras and the connections with, you know, earth, air, water, fire, you're going to feel that in your biofield. So when you vibrate these mantras, you're going to actually feel, ooh, I feel warm, or oh wow, okay, I need to kind of cool, and I need to sort of bring the nectar of energy down my body, you know, into my biofield all the way down to kind of cool myself off. You'll experience these biofield shifts.
thank you. Thank you for a further explanation there. Uh, I want to share that we are here with Dr. Shamini Jain. I'm so sorry, Shamini.
Sorry.
It's like every time I'm like, no, Jan. Oh my goodness.
Actually, some people say Jan and some people say Jane, and it's all good.
I
Yeah.
thank you for that. And I remember you telling me that a couple of years ago. It's like, oh goodness. But we are here talking about your course, which is Voicing the Goddess, Healing Mantra Practices to Awaken Grace, Joy, and Personal Power, which begins on Thursday, September 3rd. And you can log on to goddessmantrascourse.com for all the details and information on registering. I wanted to make sure that I got that information out. And let me switch on over and get to our next question here. All righty. Our next question is, I hear a lot of folks in the New Age community talk about vibes and vibrations. And can you talk a little bit about the nature of vibrations and how it affects us?
A great question. Sure, in 1 minute or less.
Take your time. It's okay. We want to know. It's a big question.
Well, this relates to what we were talking about with the biofield, right? So the biofield, again, what are the biofields? Fields of energy and information that we describe it as that guide our health, right? So we can talk about the vibrations of a cell, we can talk about the vibrations of a person, we can talk about the vibration of the earth. From the Vedic perspective, everything is vibration, right? And of course, the New Age perspective says the same thing, right? Everything is vibration. And there are different levels of vibration. So there's the vibration of my voice right now. There's that physical aspect of the sound waves that are traveling, moving air, creating the sine wave, right? That I can like record and measure and you can play back. So that's one vibration. Another vibration is the subtle vibration, things that we've called prana, chi, other things, right? Those are different. And even within those, there are different levels of vibration. What's so cool about mantra practice is that it's a way of experiencing vibration, not just on the audible level. So, yes, I chant it out loud, right? I'm also going to teach y'all how to chant silently because what you'll realize is the silence is not silent. When we learn to chant, with our minds, sometimes the effects are even stronger than they are when we're saying them out loud. It's a really wild thing. So, when we start to experience the level of vibrations through spiritual practice or energy healing practice, we'll notice all these nuances and vibrations. They go from kind of what we might call gross, like I talked about sound waves, to very subtle. But from what we can tell so far from the research, all of those levels of vibration have a profound impact on our health. So it's not just that the physical vibrations are what impact physical healing. What I'm suggesting to you is that you can practice mantras even silently or energy healing, which we have difficulty measuring on the physical. And you see profound effects on your health and well-being. This is well documented in research, and I've documented profusely in my book. So, the nature of vibration is really the nature of the universe. And it's just a question of what level of vibration you want to tap into for your healing.
So, are you saying that some of the exercises that you're going to be talking about are actually going to be silent internal chanting?
Yeah, we're going to explore that. So, we'll explore both in homework and then, I'll even guide folks and kind of hold the space during class, and even maybe the Q&As so that you can experience what it's like when you chant or say a mantra silently as well as out loud. These are all things to play with. I mean, this is the fun part. You get to play with all these levels of vibration, like silently, out loud, forcefully, quietly, using your diaphragm, not using your diaphragm. I mean, this is an exploration of you. It's an exploration of your sound and how you feel that you can most strongly connect with the divine. And every day is different. Some days you might want to chant out loud. Some days you may want to chant silently. When we talked about intuition a while ago, you learn how to let your intuition guide you. So I'll give like tried and true practices. We'll have like a very kind of systematic process. We'll be going over pronunciations. I do think pronunciations are important. I'm going to do my best to impart proper pronunciation. It's not hard at all. I'll be giving like phonetic, descriptions of this, and no one here needs to be a Sanskrit scholar. But then, you get to connect with them and see how they feel in the quote silent vibration, in that vibratory space of your energy bodies, and even how they feel physically, like your organs as well.
Wow. Thank you so much for taking us further into that. That's very exciting. And our next question is following up on the whole vibes question. So our question is asking, is there such a thing as like a high and low vibe or good vibrations? And do we have bad vibrations?
So this is such a beautiful question. Thank you for asking. And I want to relate it a little bit to the divine feminine, right? Which is a big focus of this course. In the tantric traditions, particularly, all vibrations are divine vibrations. All vibrations are here to teach us something. And we won't be getting into it a lot, although we will be talking about it when we talk about Kalima. There are particular wisdom goddesses from the tantric tradition, for example, that look downright scary. I mean, they're downright like scary and ugly, right? They might look ugly to us, and they're there to teach us lessons, right? Profound lessons, especially profound lessons related to our spiritual liberation. In my view, the only quote bad vibration is a vibration that keeps you from knowing your soul's light. So if there is something that you just don't need anymore, then, whether you want to consider that, I don't necessarily consider it a bad vibration as I consider it a vibration that is just no longer serving you. And then, yeah, you learn how to clear them away. And mantra is one really solid practice to do that. And, I do that often. If I feel like there's just stuff on my field or, something that's troubling me that I can't let go of, I will do mantras to clear the space. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Another question, this is coming from Tracy about vibration. Can you see this vibration as well as hear it?
Some do, yes. I'm more of a feeler, than I am a seer, but many of my friends and my teachers, they can see these vibrations. I'm more of a kinesthetic person. So I've had, examples not only with myself, but with my clients, for example, where I've done work with, patients with significant trauma. And when we would get to a place where they would have their own realization of a pattern that had been plaguing them their whole lives, that was driving their behavior. And when they had that aha moment, I remember just feeling something leave the room, right? So you can feel these things, and some people can see these things. Yes.
Our next question is from Christina asking, is it as effective if you're not quote unquote a singer? I'm also concerned because I'm a bit of a shallow breather.
Okay, great question. Thank you. You do not have to be a singer to do mantra. You don't even, as I said, need to chant loudly. You don't even need to chant out loud at all. You can enjoy the benefits of mantra just silently. So, I know that when I chant, I personally, project my voice because, I was raised in singing, well, I don't know if I was raised in singing, but I've been singing my whole life because I love it. You don't have to project your voice loudly at all. Even when you explore sound in a gentle way, you can learn to connect the voice with the biofield, with your energy field, in a gentle way, softly, sweetly. I mean, that's one of the properties, for example, of water. Water is cohesiveness, and we learn to bring water into our voice. Most people who bring water into their voice, they don't use a lot of volume. They don't use a lot of projection, right? You don't need to do that. Water is actually meant to bring people together. And so there's something about sweetness and softness in the voice that can do that. So you don't need to worry about being a deep breather or being a singer at all. Not at all a requirement. You're not going to be missing out on any exercises or anything like that if you don't consider yourself a singer.
Thank you. I noticed the quality of your voice changing as you were talking about water. And I know you've talked about the elements and weaving them in. So I'm curious, is that going to be part of when you talk about the quality of the voice? And
Yes, I was emulating that so that, people could kind of get a felt experience for what that feels like, right? And sounds like. Absolutely, especially in the beginning of the course, we're just going to be exploring our voices and we're going to be exploring hearing the elements in music, in our lives, kind of in nature. and in our voice. So this is really powerful, and I'm going to encourage people to continue to do that. It does relate to the mantra, but it kind of stands alone on its own too, because there's something so liberating about really making that connection, like really connecting those dots with the elements and how they show up sonically in our lives, both in terms of what we hear from others and how we are relating. For example, if we're in a really tense, tenuous situation, right? Someone's panicking, I'll give you an example. My mom was stuck in an elevator today. Okay, so I know it was a crazy thing. So she was stuck in an elevator, as you can imagine, like, she was freaking out. And I was like so glad I happened to be around, to help her through that, right? But so you can hear in the voice, obviously, what's going on. And then you need to know, like, okay, how do I respond in that, and how do I modulate my voice to bring comfort and calm, right, in a situation of distress. So when we learn how to do that with the elements, we think, okay, what am I hearing here? Am I hearing fire? Am I hearing earth? Am I hearing alarms of, sparks? What am I feeling? What am I feeling, and what am I hearing? How can I respond to that to bring balance to the situation? Right. So these are the things that we'll explore. Actually, in the first module, we're going to be exploring this, and a bit in the second as well. And then as we explore with the goddesses, we'll start to notice their qualities of how they bring balance as well. And then, you get to choose how you bring that into your voice.
Beautiful. And I trust your mother's okay and out of
Oh,
the
she's
elevator.
great. Yeah, she's great. And yeah.
That's a great example. We can all relate to that. Our next question is coming from someone who wants to use their voice. I run an urban community garden and host monthly sing-alongs in the garden. And I'd love to incorporate some of the vibrations you teach at a next sing-along. Can you recommend a particular practice I can share that would be good? Thank you so much.
Sure. I mean, well, it's more in the course. I mean, I don't know if I think we did a few videos together. I don't know which ones Shift has released, but one that is just really fun to do if you want to get to a place of like kind of catharsis is and kind of just freely liberating the voice is what I call Siren. And so with Siren, you're literally making your voice like a siren, and you start with kind of the ground, and then you lift up the voice like you're making a siren, with an ambulance or something like that, and then bring it back down. And most people won't do this on their own. It's just like too, it's just, it feels too exposed. But when you do it in a group, everybody just sort of goes for it, and it's really, really fun. So explore that, and I'll be teaching kind of very specifically how to do it in module 1.
Thank you, Shamini. And I've had the pleasure of being with you when you've done the siren, and it's awesome, and it really is enlivening.
It is. It totally charges you up. It's fun.
It does. Oh my goodness. Okay, our next question is from Cheryl, who asks, so are mantras like cousins to affirmations?
Great question. In some ways, you could say yes, because if you think about affirmations like, I am whole, I am abundant, I am beautiful, these kinds of things. These mantras are bringing the vibrational essence to those affirmations so that you're not just saying them cognitively, but you're really vibrating them. So the mantras aren't exactly affirmations themselves, but they're almost like vibratory affirmations, because you're bringing in the lunar forces, the moon forces, the water forces, the air forces, all of these things, so that when you say to yourself, I'm beautiful, I'm whole, right? You can really feel those things in your body very deeply. So in that way, they're related.
Mhm. Thank you. And we do have time for some more questions. But before we take those, I do want to share some details about this upcoming course, Voicing the Goddess. And this is going to be a truly transformative 7 weeks with Shamini, where you're going to learn how to embody your deepest feminine nature and catalyze your healing by calling the goddess through sacred sound. This is a 7-module course, and it takes place on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, and it starts on September 3rd. And in taking this course, you'll receive audio and video replays. I really like to make sure I name these because there is so much audio and video replays, transcripts of each of the sessions, and all other related materials. And you receive them all through your course homepage. And I'd also like to remind you that we offer a no risk money back guarantee on all of our courses, giving a full 2 weeks to experience it, in this case until September 17th, to make sure you absolutely love it. And as an added option, all participants are welcome to connect on a private community group to stay connected with one another, which we host on Facebook. And so that's a really great addition to the course where you can really work with the material. And everyone who registers receives the Voicing the Goddess bonus collection. And in our permanent collection, we have Transforming Trauma, the Role of the Biofield. And this is a video interview with Shamini and Dr. Julie Yao. And it's a conversation where Dr. Yao answers questions including, when it comes to transforming the effects of trauma, what is the role of your biofield? You'll also receive Vastic and Vedic medical astrology. And this is a video dialogue with Shamini and Michael Mastro, where they discuss reducing the stresses in your environment that cause life to be a struggle. And you will also receive Embodying Unbreakable Wholeness and Well-Being. This is a video dialogue with Shamini and Richard Miller. And if you register for this course by midnight Pacific on August 28th, you'll receive Biofield Tuning and Understanding Health from an Electric and Sonic Perspective. This is an audio dialogue with Eileen McCusick, and it's hosted by Dondi Dolan. So I wanted to make sure that you were aware of all the bonuses that are associated and some more information on the course. But let's get right back to our questions. And Lorna asks, what is a good mantra when you're just getting started? I have no experience.
Oh, great question. Well, it's hard to just prescribe one to you, Lorna, without knowing a little bit about, kind of where you're at and what you're seeking, kind of what you're wanting to bring into your life. But there are many seed mantras if you don't have experience. And I imagine a lot of folks who are joining the course don't. Like that's part of the reason for doing the course, is just to get you acquainted. There are one syllable mantras that are very, very simple to do. And the one that is right will call out to you. Like you'll feel it because it will have a certain vibration to it. It will signify something that you want to bring into your life. So if you're looking for one that really signifies the divine feminine, that is, what we call benefic, beneficial, and doesn't really have any, some of these mantras can be strong. So, you have to be careful which ones you pick initially. You don't want to necessarily pick one unless you know whether they, suit you. And then we'll be talking about this in the course as well. All the ones that I've chosen, anyone can do. One that is, I think, probably good for everyone at this point, that helps you connect with the divine feminine, is the simple seed mantra Hreem. That's Hreem, Hreem. And you can pronounce it like, if you were going to chant it, you can chant it in different ways, but recommend that you kind of resonate it here in the nose. And you simply say, Hreem. And you can hold the M if you want. You don't have to. You can go Hreem, or you can go Hreem. What's really nice about just doing a simple seed mantra is it's a great way of just sort of feeling where the resonance is. You play with the sound. When you do it, you can feel when you want to kind of project it in your head versus in your heart. But Hreem is really a seed mantra that connects with many aspects of the divine feminine and connects with light. And some people will call it solar energy. It does have a kind of very radiating solar power to it, but it also relates to other forms of light, including lunar energies as well. So Hreem is a really great one to practice with.
Thank you. And can you talk for a moment the difference between, you were saying, radiating it from either your heart or into your head?
Yeah, so let's try that. Like, let's all try that right now. Okay, so we just learned Hreem. So everyone just, feel comfortable. I think you're muted anyway, so we won't blow up the Zoom. We've tried this before. If we all do it together, sometimes the Zoom blows up. We're going to do it together, and I just want you to either silently if you want or out loud if you're comfortable. Just chant Cream, and this time I want you to just focus it right here, kind of on the bridge of the nose between the eyes, not necessarily the third eye, just sort of at the bridge of the nose. And if you're like, what? Just don't worry about it. Just kind of focus in on here when you're saying cream. Okay, so let's try that first. And then when you do it, just see if you can play with the sound and kind of send it inside your head a little bit. Okay, so cream. Okay, so I cheated a little and did a little bit of overtoning there because I find it fun, but you don't have to do that. You just focus it right here. Let's try it one more time. And you don't have to do it vigorously. Just do it as it feels comfortable. But use your solar plexus here, your belly, and project the sound right here up toward the nose. If this feels funny, do it at the tip of the nose. So you feel, maybe some vibrations around the head, and folks can just sort of chat in the comments, maybe if that's okay, Carrie, or if you want to share
Sure.
what
Yeah,
that feels.
I'll tell you, there's quite a buzzing and enlightenment in the head for sure.
Right? So you're kind of clearing space in the head. Now, let's focus on putting cream in the heart, which is often actually where we do it when we do cream as a mantra. We often focus in here at the heart. Cream is also associated with the goddess Lakshmi, the goddess Tripundar Sundari. And a lot of times when we do mantras, we always use cream. It kind of also helps set the space and the tone. So let's focus cream now on the heart and see if you can feel the vibration here in the heart. Okay. Hreem. Hreem. One more time. Hreem. Take a nice deep breath.
That was much more quieting and grounding. Oh my goodness, they're very different.
Right?
Very different with, I mean, one was so enlivening, right? And the other was very calming. That was a beautiful exercise. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So this is what's so neat about mantras is and sound, right? In general, is the way that we put it into our bodies. And when we do that with intention and attention and love, right? We can experience all kinds of different things. And then we learn how to use them as our medicine, right? What do we need to do? Do we need some mind clearing? Do we need some heart opening? Do we need to kind of get grounded in our lower body? Do we need to open the crown? These are all different practices to kind of help us tune our biofield from the inside out.
Beautiful. Our next question is, and I can feel it in my body, so thank you for that exercise. This is wonderful. Our next question is coming from Maggie, who asks, will you be translating the mantras so that we know what they mean and their power and what it's associated with?
Absolutely. Yeah. As much as I can, word for word. And that's why we're actually starting with the seed mantras because a lot of the mantras that we'll do for the goddess use the seed mantras. And so I want you to kind of feel literally feel the seed mantras before we even start on the longer mantras. And let me share that all the mantras are like a sentence. Okay, so we're not doing long mantras here. We don't need to do that. The short mantras are just as powerful and just as effective, even the seed ones. So we'll first learn the seed mantras and the meanings behind each one and their connections with the elements and their connections with specific goddesses. And then when we go into the goddesses, we'll explore a little bit of a longer mantra and then kind of go through the translation of the meaning. So that way when you're chanting them, yeah, you're fully in it.
Hmm. Thank you. Our next question is around prosperity. I'm currently working to change my vibration around prosperity. What practices would you recommend to help one open the flow of prosperity in my life? Thank you.
Oh, we are going through this fully. Actually, what is it in module 6 when we explore Lakshmi Ma, and her medicine is beautiful. So there's so much to it, that I invite you to kind of explore that, particularly module 6, all the modules. You'll learn those connections with prosperity in different aspects of our living, both in terms of liberation, worldly life, monetary abundance, devotional and love abundance. We experience abundance in all these different forms. And just, very briefly, one of the things that Lakshmi Ma teaches us is how to hold all those forms of abundance in balance. So when you see her 4 arms, you'll see that, she's actually helping you learn how to hold all those flows of abundance in balance. If you are struggling with prosperity, there can be many different reasons for it. But one key practice, that helps no matter what aspect of abundance you're struggling with at the moment, is to count your blessings. Because one of the things that Lakshmi Ma teaches us is that to receive flow, you're not even really receiving flow. You just are in flow. And the way to kind of get in flow is to appreciate the flow that's already flowing through you. So that means counting your blessings, as a start, because there's something really beautiful about that. And it won't get all boring with research here, but we did some studies at UCSD on gratitude with heart failure patients, and gratitude, in a nutshell, opens the heart. What we found with these heart failure patients was they practiced gratitude, they had better heart health. Let's just say that they had better heart rate variability, improvements in their parasympathetic nervous system. On the spiritual level and the energetic level, when we practice just counting our blessings, we open the heart to receive more abundance. So we're not in this constricted place of like, oh God, I need this. Oh, because that puts us in a scarcity mentality right away, and that constricts our flow. So I know that's hard. I know when we're struggling, I know things are hard, for many of us right now. We're feeling kind of shifts in the flow in different ways, especially during COVID. But that practice of just counting our blessings will open the flow. Just try it, and try it on a daily basis.
That's beautiful. So being present and with gratitude. Yes? Oh, beautiful. Yeah, I'm noting our time, and I would love it if you would share with us what you're looking forward to most in your class and those who take a journey with us on this. Of course.
So, from my perspective, the divine feminine is very, very present right now. And I feel her presence more and more strongly, literally every day, but especially during this time. And my wish for all of you is that you connect in with these beautiful vibrations that can help you along your path and help to provide healing for the world, because they're very much here. And so while we're all struggling, we can be lifted up by connecting with these divine energies, recognize them in ourselves, bring them even more fully into ourselves, right? So we can experience our soul's light. Then we can kind of clean away some of the stuff that is just, let's just face it, right? There's just a lot piled on us right now that we don't need. And I just don't want us to feel bogged down with that. Like, we don't need to feel bogged down by that. We should feel excited and enlightened and, sort of ready to create the new world. One of the things that the goddess teaches us, and if we could think about the goddess this way: generating, organizing, destroying devis or goddesses that empower soul service. Okay. So what does this mean? They're forces that we tap into and connect with so that we clear away what's no longer needed. That's the destroying aspect, right? When something is being destroyed, something is also being created at the same time. So when we connect in with these energies, we'll be able to really feel our soul's light and move forward in a super positive way. And that's what's needed for humanity right now, both, individually and collectively. So that's why I'm teaching this course. I've found it extremely helpful for me, people that I have taught, personally doing these kinds of things in kind of in-person workshops, which we're not doing right now. I just canceled my workshop at Esalen and, 1440 and all that this year, just like everybody, right? Thank goodness for Shift and for the online platform because we can experience this together online and it's really powerful. So, the thing I'm looking most forward to is you connecting in with the divine feminine for yourself. And I'm honored to share the practices.
Thank you so much, Shamini. I so appreciate the vibrancy and just energy that you bring to your teaching, and I can feel it, and it's wonderful. Thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone for joining us. Voicing the Goddess, which begins Thursday, September 3rd. Again, you can visit our website, goddessmantrascourse.com, to learn more and to register. And if you do so by August 28th, you'll receive a special bonus video dialogued biofield tuning and understanding health from an electric and sonic perspective. This is a conversation with Eileen McCusick, hosted by Dondi Dahlin. And Shamini, do you have any final words for our listeners today?
Just thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. May the force of the divine light of the divine feminine be with you, and may you always be connected with your own inner voice.
Hmm. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shamini. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. On behalf of all of us here at the Shift Network, I wish you well, and I look forward to having you on this course or one in the future. Many thanks.